I went to see my alien girlfriend, but her mother had different plans. He stood at the edge of the landing platform, the strange world spreading out before him like a dream that had turned real. The air shimmered with colors he had never seen on Earth, soft blues mixing with glowing silvers as if the entire sky was alive. His heart pounded harder than it ever had, because today he was not here as a traveler or a guest. He was here to see her, his alien girlfriend. The thought alone filled him with a nervous fire, the kind that made his hands shake and his breath come short. He told himself to stay calm, to walk forward with strength. But the truth was simple. Nothing in his life had ever prepared him for this moment. The city rose before him, built on silver cliffs that hung high above rivers of light. The buildings did not look like stone or metal, but something in between, glowing faintly as if alive. Long bridges stretched between towers, curving like the branches of ancient trees. He felt eyes on him even before he stepped onto the main path. Alien figures watched him from balconies and walkways, tall bodies draped in robes that shimmered like water. Their faces were hard to read, their eyes brighter than stars, but one thing was clear: he was not welcome here. He remembered the warnings he had heard back on Earth. Do not trust the aliens. Do not get too close. They see humans as weak, as fragile, as little more than a curiosity. But she had been different. When he first met her, she had not treated him as less. She had laughed at his awkward words, touched his hand without fear, and told him she wanted him to come see her world one day. Now that day had arrived, and he was walking into the heart of her people, unsure if he was walking into love or into danger. Guards waited at the gate of the main bridge. Their armor glowed faintly, and their spears looked like they were carved from crystal. One of them stepped forward, his voice deep, carrying across the air without any need to shout. "Human, why do you come here?" He swallowed hard. His throat was dry, but he forced the words out. "I came to see her. She is expecting me." The guards looked at each other. For a moment he thought they would strike him down where he stood, but then one gave a slow nod and stepped aside. He walked forward quickly before they could change their minds, his legs stiff and heavy. Every step made the bridge hum faintly, as if the city itself was testing his presence. The closer he came to her home, the stronger the feeling grew that he was being watched. Windows above flickered with faces. Whispers followed him like the wind. Some looked with anger, others with something colder, fear. Why fear, he wondered. He was just one human boy among thousands of their kind. What threat could he possibly be to them? Finally, he reached the great house at the end of the bridge. It was not a house like those on Earth. It was a living tower of crystal and light rising high into the sky. The doors opened without touch, as if the building had recognized him. He stepped inside, his breath caught in his chest. She was waiting for him in the main hall. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim light, her hair flowing like silver fire. When she smiled, his fear melted away for a moment. She crossed the room quickly, her hands reaching for his, her voice soft but shaking. "You came. I was afraid you would not." "I said I would," he whispered back, though his voice trembled. He looked at her and felt the weight of every risk vanish. For this moment alone, it had been worth the danger. But the moment did not last. From the shadows above the hall, another figure stepped forward. Taller, stronger, eyes colder than any he had seen. Her presence filled the room like a storm. This was not his girlfriend. This was her mother. Her voice cut through the air, sharp as a blade. "So this is the human who thinks he can stand in my house." He froze where he stood, her gaze pressing down on him like a weight. His girlfriend stepped closer to him, her grip tightening on his hand as if she could shield him. But her mother's eyes never left his face. There was no welcome in them, only judgment. "I came to see her," he said slowly, forcing the words out even as fear grew in his chest. "That is all." The mother's expression did not change. "You came to see her, but you will see me first." The silence stretched long. He could hear the faint hum of the walls, the distant sound of alien winds outside, the pounding of his own heart. In that silence, he understood something important. His visit would not be as simple as meeting the one he loved. There were other forces at play here, forces stronger and older than he could understand. Her mother stepped closer, her eyes never blinking. "You should not have come, human. Your presence will bring change. And change is something this world does not forgive." The words sank deep into him, chilling his blood. He wanted to step back, but his girlfriend's hand held him firm. He looked at her face and saw fear there. Fear not of him, but of what her mother might do. For the first time he understood that love alone might not be enough to survive this visit. Something darker was waiting behind her mother's cold eyes, something he could not yet name. The silence in the great hall pressed against him like heavy stone. He stood firm, though his heart was still pounding from the weight of her mother's words. His girlfriend's hand clung to his, her warmth the only thing keeping him from stepping back. He knew this moment mattered. If he faltered now, her mother would see him as weak, and weakness here was dangerous. The mother circled him slowly, her tall figure moving with grace that felt unnatural. Her eyes studied him the way a hunter studies prey, not blinking, not softening. "You are far from your world, human," she said, her voice cold but calm. "Do you even understand where you stand?" He tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. For a moment, fear nearly stole his words. Then he forced himself to breathe, to meet her gaze. "I stand here because I was invited. I came for her." The mother's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "You came for her," she repeated, as if the words were a foolish dream. She turned her gaze toward her daughter, and her tone sharpened. "And you let him walk into this house? Do you not see what you are doing?" His girlfriend's voice was soft but steady. "Mother, he is not like the others. He is not here to harm us. He came because of me." The mother's eyes darkened. "That is the danger." She turned back to him, her presence looming larger, her shadow stretching across the floor like a warning. "You are human. Do you know what humans have done in the past when they touched our world? Do you know why we keep your kind away?" He shook his head slowly. "I only know that I am not them. I did not come to bring harm. I came because I care for her." Her laughter filled the hall, sharp and hollow. "Care," she said, the word breaking in her mouth as if it was meaningless. "You speak of care, but your kind always brings hunger. You spread across the stars as if they belong to you. You take, you consume, and you leave nothing but scars. Why should I let one of you stay near her?" Her words struck him hard, but he held his ground. "Because I am not here to take. I am here to stay by her side." For a moment, the hall went still again. The mother's gaze searched him, looking for weakness, for the tremble in his heart that might betray him. He knew she would not stop until she broke him. But he refused to step back, even as her eyes burned like cold fire into his soul. Finally, she leaned closer, her voice low but sharp. "Do you know what happens to those who fail to prove themselves here? Do you know what punishment is given to those who waste my time?" His breath grew tight, but he forced the words out. "Then give me the chance to prove myself." Her girlfriend gasped softly, her grip tightening around his arm. But the mother's eyes narrowed, and for the first time there was no mockery in them, only interest. "You are bold," she said. "Too bold for your kind. Perhaps you do not yet understand the price of your words." She raised her hand, and the walls of the hall shifted, glowing brighter. Strange symbols burned into the crystal, and the floor beneath them hummed with power. The air grew heavy, as if the house itself was alive and listening. The boy felt the weight of something vast pressing down on him. He had thought this was only her home, but now he understood. It was more than that. It was a place of judgment. The mother's voice carried through the glowing chamber. "If you truly believe you belong here, then you will face the truth. No human walks freely into this family without being tested. If you fail, you will not leave alive." The words sank deep, and his stomach turned cold. He had not expected this, but he could see there was no other choice. If he ran now, he would lose her forever. If he stayed, he would have to face whatever trial her mother prepared. His girlfriend tried to speak, her voice shaking. "Mother, please, this is not fair." The mother silenced her with a sharp glance. "You know our law. You know the danger he brings. If he is strong, let him prove it. If he is weak, let him be broken." The boy clenched his fists. His body trembled, but his eyes did not leave hers. "Then I will face it." Her mother stared at him, her expression unreadable. Slowly, she lowered her hand, and the glowing walls dimmed, though the heavy silence remained. She stepped back, her tall form straight and unyielding. "So be it," she said at last. "Tomorrow at dawn you will face the test. Until then you remain in this house as my guest, or my prisoner." With those words she turned and walked away, her robes trailing like smoke behind her. He stood frozen, his heart still racing, his body heavy with the weight of what had just been decided. His girlfriend looked at him with wide eyes, her face pale, her lips trembling. She wanted to say something, but no words came. He reached for her hand again, holding it tight. "It is going to be all right," he whispered. though deep inside he was not sure if it was true. The house hummed quietly around them, as if waiting for the morning. Somewhere in its walls he thought he heard the sound of distant voices whispering, carrying warnings he could not understand. The first warning had been spoken, and the path before him was clear. Tomorrow his life would change forever, one way or another. The dawn came with a strange light that bled across the alien sky. It was not the gold of Earth's sun, but a pale silver glow that turned the towers of the city into ghostly shapes. He had not slept. The night had been long, filled with shadows whispering through the crystal halls, and the weight of the coming test pressing down on his chest. His girlfriend had stayed near him, her eyes full of worry, but neither of them had found words strong enough to cut through the fear. Now the time had come. When the great doors of the house opened, a crowd had already gathered on the wide bridge outside. The people stood in silence, their faces glowing faintly in the morning light, their eyes locked on the human who dared to challenge their law. He felt the burn of their judgment before he even stepped forward. But he did step forward because retreat was no longer possible. Her mother was already there, standing tall at the far end of the bridge. She looked like a statue carved from living light, her presence commanding the air itself. When he reached her, she raised her hand and the crowd went silent. "This is the human," she said, her voice strong and cold. "He enters our house. He claims he is worthy. Today he will face the test. If he fails, his story ends here." The words carried like a sentence echoing into the morning. His chest tightened, but he lifted his chin and forced himself not to look away. The floor of the bridge began to change. The crystal under his feet cracked and shifted, spreading apart to reveal a pit below. From the pit rose a shape, tall and monstrous. It had 4 legs, its body armored in dark plates that shone like glass, and its eyes glowed red with fire. A low growl rolled out of its throat, shaking the air. The people murmured, but none of them looked surprised. This was not new to them. It was tradition. His girlfriend gasped, stepping forward, but her mother raised a hand to stop her. "This is the beast of trial," she said. "It does not stop. It does not pity. Defeat it and you may stay. Fall and you prove what I already know, that humans are too weak to walk among us." The beast lowered its head, its claws scraping against the crystal. He had nothing. No weapon, no armor, just his body and his will. His stomach nodded, but he forced himself to move, to step into the open space before the beast. He could not let fear freeze him. Not here. Not now. The creature lunged without warning. Its massive body struck like thunder, claws sweeping wide. He barely rolled aside, the crystal floor shattering where he had stood a second before. The crowd gasped, but he heard no cheers. Only silence, heavy and expectant. He scrambled to his feet. His mind raced. He could not fight strength with strength. The beast was too large, too powerful. But he had survived his whole life not by being stronger than others, but by thinking faster. That had to matter here. The beast turned, growling, its eyes burning into him. It charged again, claws flashing. He darted aside, sliding across the floor, feeling the hot breath of the monster as it passed. His chest heaved, his arms trembling, but he did not fall. He waited, studying it, searching for something, anything he could use. Then he saw it. The armored plates across its back were thick and solid, but the joints where its legs met its body were softer, glowing faintly, vulnerable. It would not be easy, but it was the only chance. The next time the beast lunged, he did not run. He stepped forward, closer than the creature expected, and threw himself to the side at the last second. As the beast passed, he struck with all his strength at the glowing joint. Pain shot through his arm, but the beast roared in fury, stumbling for the first time. The crowd gasped again, this time louder. He backed away, breathing hard. The beast turned, more furious than before. Its movements grew faster, more violent. It attacked again and again, each strike close enough to end him. His body burned, his lungs screamed, but he kept moving, always staying just out of reach. Again and again he struck at the weak points, small hits, each one buying him another second of life. At last, the beast slowed. Blood like molten fire dripped from its joints. It roared, its voice echoing across the bridge, and then it collapsed, crashing into the crystal floor with a shudder that shook the air. The silence that followed was deep and heavy. The people stared, their faces unreadable. Slowly, he lifted his head and looked at her mother. His chest was heaving, sweat poured down his face, but he stood. He had not fallen. Her mother's eyes were fixed on him, colder than ever, but something else flickered there now. Not approval, not respect, but recognition. "You did not die," she said softly, though her voice still carried across the crowd. "But survival does not mean victory. The test is not finished." The floor of the bridge began to shift again, glowing brighter, humming with power. His girlfriend cried out, stepping forward despite the guards holding her back. "Mother, please, he has done enough." But her mother's face was hard as stone. "No," she said. "This was only the beginning. The beast tests the body. The next will test the mind, and then we will see what truly lies in his heart." The crowd whispered now, their voices rising, carrying fear and excitement. He felt the weight of their eyes pressing down harder than the beast had. He was not finished. This was only the first step. He looked at his girlfriend, her face pale, her eyes full of fear for him. He gave her a small nod, though his chest still shook with exhaustion. Whatever came next, he would face it, not because he wanted glory, not because he wanted to prove his kind. He would face it because of her. The bridge glowed brighter still, and the test moved forward. The glow from the bridge spread across the crystal city, painting everything in silver and blue. He stood in the center, his body weak from the fight but his spirit still burning. The beast lay broken behind him, its fire fading, but there was no relief in his chest. The trial was not over. He could see it in her mother's eyes. This was only the beginning. The air grew colder, and the hum of the bridge turned into a deep vibration that made the ground tremble. Symbols carved themselves into the crystal floor, glowing with sharp light. He felt his mind grow heavy, as if invisible hands were pressing against his thoughts. His girlfriend tried to step closer, but the guards crossed their spears in front of her. She cried out his name, but her voice sounded far away, like an echo in a dream. Her mother's voice rose above the silence, strong and sharp. "The body you have proven. Now we will see if your mind can endure the weight of truth. Few of your kind can survive this. Fewer still walk away unchanged." Before he could speak, the symbols on the floor flared brighter and the world around him shattered. The crowd, the bridge, even the sky dissolved into fragments of light. He stumbled back, but his feet found no ground. He was falling, yet he was standing still. A void stretched around him, endless and black, filled with whispers that crawled into his ears. He tried to cover his head, but the voices pierced through. They were not in a language he understood, yet somehow he knew their meaning. They spoke of fear, of weakness, of human blood spilling across stars. He saw flashes, armies of humans invading alien worlds, burning cities, leaving ruin behind. He saw children crying as fire consumed their homes, alien faces twisted in terror as human soldiers marched forward without mercy. "No," he whispered, shaking his head. "That is not me." But the vision did not stop. It grew stronger, sharper. He saw humans in chains, betrayed by their own leaders, fighting each other for survival. He saw hunger, greed, lies spreading like disease. The whispers rose louder, blending into a roar. "You are human," the voices said. "This is what you are. You are destruction. You are hunger. You are a shadow that devours light." His chest tightened, his breath coming fast. He wanted to run, but there was no ground, no escape. He was trapped inside his own fear. For a moment he thought he would break. Then, through the roar, another voice came, softer, warmer. It was her voice, his girlfriend's voice. He could not see her, but he felt her, reaching for him through the void. "You are not like them," the voice whispered. "You are more. You are different." The darkness pressed hard, but he clung to those words. He forced his eyes open and shouted into the void. "I am human, yes, but that does not mean I am only this. I choose who I am, not you." The black shattered like glass, breaking into shards of light that scattered into nothing. He gasped, his body shaking as he fell to his knees. The bridge was beneath him again, the crowd still watching in silence. Sweat poured down his face, his body trembling, but his mind was clear. Her mother's gaze was locked on him, sharp and unblinking. For a moment he thought he saw a flicker of surprise. She stepped closer, her voice lower now. "You saw it, did you not? The truth of your kind, the hunger that burns in your blood." He lifted his head slowly, his voice hoarse but firm. "I saw what humans have done, but I also know what they can be. We are not only shadows, we are more than the worst parts of our history." The mother's expression hardened. "Do you think words will change the prophecy? Do you think love will erase what is written?" His heart skipped. "Prophecy?" The crowd stirred at the word. His girlfriend's face turned pale, her eyes filling with fear. She tried to speak, but her mother silenced her with a glance. The mother looked back at him, her eyes cold but heavy with something else. Burden. Long before you were born, before your kind even reached the stars, our seers spoke of a day when a human would step into our house. That human would bring change. Not just for us, but for the galaxy. Change through fire, change through blood, or change through something no one could yet name. The words sank into him like ice. He remembered the whispers, the visions of destruction, and the warmth of her voice cutting through the dark. Was that what the prophecy meant? That he was the spark? His girlfriend broke the silence, her voice sharp with desperation. Mother, you cannot believe this. He is not a curse. He is not the shadow they feared. He is proof that humans can be more. The mother's gaze flicked to her daughter, then back to him. Your heart speaks for him, but your heart is blind. Do you not see? If the prophecy is true, then he is either salvation or the end of everything. The crowd whispered louder, the fear spreading through them like fire. He felt their eyes pressing down harder than ever before, their fear turning into anger. He forced himself to stand, though his body still shook. I am not here to bring war. I am not here to bring ruin. I came because of her. If that makes me part of your prophecy, then so be it, but I will not be your shadow. Her mother studied him long and hard. Finally, she turned away, her voice cutting the air. The test of the mind is past, but the trial is not finished. Tomorrow you will face the test of the heart. Then we will see what you truly are. The crowd began to disperse, their whispers fading with the wind. He stood in silence, his chest heavy with the weight of what he had learned. The prophecy, the fear, the choice still ahead. His girlfriend rushed to him, her hands gripping his arms, her eyes wet. You should not have come, she whispered. I am so afraid of what they will do to you. He looked into her eyes, his voice steady, though his soul trembled. It is too late to turn back now. Whatever comes, I will face it. Above them, the silver sky darkened as the second day of his trial came to an end. Somewhere deep inside the city, he felt the prophecy stirring, waiting for the test that would decide everything. The night before the final trial was darker than any he had seen on this alien world. The silver glow of the towers seemed dimmer, the crystal bridges silent, as if the city itself was holding its breath. He sat alone in the chamber given to him, his hands resting on his knees, his thoughts circling like restless shadows. He had faced the beast and survived. He had walked through the darkness of his mind and returned. But now the third test waited, and her mother's words echoed inside him. The test of the heart. He did not know what that meant. He had fought with his body, endured with his mind, but the heart was different. The heart could break in silence. The heart could betray even when the will stayed strong. He thought of his girlfriend, of the way her hand had held his even when the crowd turned against him. He thought of the prophecy, of fire and ruin, of change that could not be undone. He wondered if her mother was right, if he was only a shadow pretending to be more. When dawn came, the guards came with it. They said nothing, only motioned for him to follow. The streets were lined with people again, silent and watchful, their eyes cold and uncertain. The whispers followed him, but now they felt sharper, edged with fear. To them, he was no longer only an outsider. He was something heavier, a piece of fate walking among them. The bridge he had fought on yesterday was gone. Instead, he was led deeper into the city, through a long path that twisted downward, past towers of glowing crystal, until the light faded and the air grew colder. At last they reached a cavern beneath the city, vast and hollow, the walls glowing faintly with patterns older than memory. In the center stood her mother, waiting as if she had been there all night. His girlfriend was already there too, her wrists bound by silver cords that pulsed with light. She struggled when she saw him, calling out his name, but the cords pulled her back, holding her still. He rushed forward, but the guards blocked his path. His heart twisted with fear. What is this? He demanded, his voice raw. Her mother's gaze cut into him. This is the final trial. The test of the heart. If you wish to remain, if you wish to claim a place here, then you must choose. He shook his head. Choose what? Her mother raised her hand, and the cavern wall shifted, opening to reveal another figure standing in the shadows. It was a human, an older man, scarred, his eyes weary but alive. His breath caught in his throat. The man looked like he had come from Earth, though he did not know how. This one, her mother said, her voice calm but heavy, is a prisoner we took long ago. He carries the history of your kind. He fought, he killed, he burned. He is what your people truly are when the mask is torn away. The older man stared at him, his expression cold. Do not listen to them, the man said. We are survivors. We do what we must. You think they will ever let you stay? You think they will let you live with her? You are a fool. Humans will always be the enemy to them. Her mother's voice cut through the cavern. The choice is simple. You can take the life of this human. Prove to us you have cut ties to your kind, and perhaps you will be allowed to remain. Or... She motioned toward her daughter, the cords tightening around her wrists until she gasped. You can turn your back on her. Leave now, walk away, and she will remain safe. But you will never see her again. The cavern fell silent. His heart slammed inside his chest harder than when the beast had charged. Harder than when the whispers of the void had broken into his mind. His girlfriend's eyes filled with tears, her voice shaking. Do not do it, she whispered. Do not take his life. If you must leave me, then leave. Do not become what they want you to be. The older man's voice grew louder, harsher. Do it, kill me. Show them you are strong. Show them you are more than a weak boy chasing an alien dream. The guards stood still, their faces blank. The mother watched with eyes that carried no warmth, only judgment. The weight of the entire city pressed against him. He felt his knees weaken, his breath shallow, but he did not break. Slowly he stepped forward. His hands trembled, his chest burned, but he faced the older man and shook his head. I will not kill you, he said. I will not kill anyone to prove myself. Her mother's eyes narrowed. Then you choose to walk away? He turned, his gaze falling on the girl he loved, bound and struggling, her face pale with fear. No, he whispered. I choose her. Always her. Whatever you do to me, whatever this prophecy means, I will not let you decide who I am. I am human, yes, but I am also his enemy. He motioned to the older man, and I am her protector. He lifted his chin, his voice steady. I choose love. That is my heart. The cavern shook as the cords around his girlfriend's wrists snapped apart, falling to the ground. She ran to him, her arms wrapping around him, her tears warm against his skin. The older man faded into smoke, his body dissolving until nothing remained. It had all been a test, an illusion crafted to tear him apart. The mother watched in silence, her eyes unreadable. At last she spoke. You have passed. Not because you fought, not because you endured, but because you chose. The heart cannot be forced, and today you showed it cannot be broken. The cavern quieted, the glow of the walls dimming. The crowd above would never understand, perhaps never accept him. But here, in this moment, he had proven something stronger than fear or prophecy. He held her close, his voice low but certain. No matter what comes, I will face it. Not as their shadow, not as their curse, but as myself. Her mother turned away, her robes sweeping like a storm, fading into distance. For the first time, she did not stop him. For the first time, she allowed him to stand. The choice had been made. And with it, the world itself seemed to shift.